Good morning. Here is the follow-up video of the poem on Jennifer's Tigers. I said that I would go through the answers to the questions as it might be a bit long. Couldn't do it all in one video, so I decided to separate it. There are 6 questions that come with this poem. These are the questions that we chose to do with the poem. It's not an exhaustive list, and also similar questions can be asked just with different phrasing. So please just keep that in mind. But this is going over form and imagery. It's going over particular word choices. That would be the diction. And it's also looking at the structure of the poem. And when you answer poetry questions, those are the main concepts that you will be dealing with: tone, theme, imagery, diction, structure. Those are the main ones. Imagery doesn't always have to be figures of speech. 9 times out of 10 they are, because using different figures of speech will give you a particular picture in your mind. It gives you a certain image, but it can also be created through different words and the structure of the poem. So please keep that in mind. Also, while I'm on the point of structure, enjambment falls under structure as well. So even if there might not be a rhyme scheme, there could be internal rhyming words, there could be enjambment, and that would also count as part of the structure. All right, so as you can see, I started on the right-hand side of the page, questions 1 to 5, and then realized that I made my spacing a bit too wide. So number 6 then starts underneath the questions and then carries on to the other side. So I'll go through it with you. All right, number 1, describe uncle with close and careful reference to the poem. So now we need to describe a character, and we need to pay attention to what is said about him in the poem. So mostly the poem is about Aunt Jennifer. However, she does have certain reactions to things, and there are descriptions of what she has or what she endures from the person that she is married to, this uncle. Okay, so uncle is a controlling and domineering man. There is a high possibility that he is physically abusive too. Now, firstly, they're going to ask you, how do you know that? Where do you get that from? So being married to him is described as a massive weight. And Aunt Jennifer's reaction to him is one of fear. It speaks about being terrified and ordeals and being mastered by him. And that is where we get the controlling and the domineering. So what you can see is I've taken diction from the poem, and then I have chosen a descriptive word for that. So if you are terrified of somebody, if being with them is an ordeal, it's a heavy weight, it's a burden, it's a massive obstacle, and you are mastered by them, then that person is controlling you and is domineering. Also, the rings on her hands. So that is not just the wedding ring that she wears, but in the last stanza, she is ringed by ordeals, and that is showing the physical abuse. There are actual marks on her. Number 2, state the difference between Aunt Jennifer and the tigers. So the main idea of the poem is that Aunt Jennifer is busy with a tapestry. You will often see tapestries in medieval films. You will see it in the film Brave, the Disney film. That's one of the things that Merida's mother is busy working on. It's a massive piece of woven, colorful, intricate, designed piece of material, embroidery, thread, etc. So what she's busy doing on the tapestry is tigers, and they seem to be very different compared to her. So Aunt Jennifer is controlled and severely restricted, but the tigers are confident, bold, and move as they please. So now I need to give something from the poem to show those two differences. So the tigers are described as proud, unafraid, and they move with certainty. They are denizens of their world. They are owners of their world. They are inhabitants of their world. They are not foreign to it. They seem to enjoy it, but Aunt Jennifer is oppressed. So again, if you include terrified, massive weight, ordeals, that again can be used to supplement your answer. You will notice that there are some similarities between the information that you can give for the questions. So that's why I tried to make them as different as possible, just to avoid some of that repetition. But again, just keep that in mind, because sometimes a question might seem similar or the same to what was previously asked, but then keep in mind that they might be asking you about something specific. So yes, we do look at Aunt Jennifer a little bit later. Liza. But specifically, yeah, there is a difference that you're supposed to be looking at. Okay, number 3. How does the figurative meaning of the massive weight of the wedding band contribute to your understanding of Aunt Jennifer's life? So, few things here. Figurative meaning of the massive weight of the wedding band. So we're not looking at the literal, we're looking at the figurative, the connotation, the implied meaning. Another way they can talk about it is inferred. And what does that figurative meaning tell you about Aunt Jennifer's life? And this is why I said sometimes it can be quite similar to what has come before. So you've already got an idea of Aunt Jennifer's life, but now specifically, how does this specific instance or example show you Aunt Jennifer's life? Okay, so physically it's not heavy, but the weight is felt mentally and emotionally. It is a burden and a constant reminder of the oppressive relationship. She is unhappy and trapped. Okay, so massive weight has the idea of burden. The connotation is that it is something heavy to bear. It's an ordeal. It's an obstacle. It's a trial. Okay. Number 4. Explain the cause of Aunt Jennifer's ringed hands when she is dead. So here I believe there are 2 possibilities. So either she has died because of years of physical abuse, and a person can also die of heartache and just giving up on the will to live. And also so the physical and the sort of mental. So either the years of physical abuse have shown up on her body upon her death, or she was actually beaten to death. So the ringed marks on her hands could possibly be bruises. So we're looking at 2 options here. So like I said, sometimes people just, they give up in their minds, and that is the end of it, and their body soon after perishes as well. Or she was actually beaten to death. And considering what else has been said in the poem about the relationship, that's definitely an option. Okay. Then number 5, do you empathize with Aunt Jennifer? What action would you have taken if you had been in her position? Now, a lot of my students have a problem with questions like this because they say, what happens if we don't feel anything? What happens if it doesn't actually bother us? What happens if there is no feeling? So here's the thing, empathize. Are you able to put yourself in that person's shoes and have an idea of what they are feeling, looking at what they are going through, and then thinking to yourself, if that were me, I might possibly feel A, B, C, or X, Y, Z. Okay, and that is the trick. And you're going to get many questions like this, and it's not just for grade 11s. You can get them for grade 10, you can get them in your matric prelims and finals. It's that evaluation question. So sometimes you'll hear teachers talk about Bloom's taxonomy. We give you an easy question, you just take it straight from the text. The boy's shirt is blue. Then you'll get something a little bit more difficult, Liza. So sorry, apologies. So then you might get something a little bit more complex. Why did he pick the blue shirt? Then maybe you've got to read a bit through the text and discover that he was going on a date and that was, his best shirt or something. Then you get an evaluation question, a judgment question. And that means after everything that you have answered, after everything that you have read, now that you have complete understanding, what are you going to do with that information? Okay, and that is the trick of it, and that is also where those own opinion questions come in. So you might not feel anything, but considering what you know and putting yourself in her shoes, what do you think might be an appropriate answer? So, it must be terrible to be in a loveless marriage with an abusive partner. Then I just added an answer for myself, trying to think logically. I would find a friend or a family member to speak to, or go to the police station to get a restraining order, perhaps maybe file for a divorce if the person is not letting up, if your own life is in danger. So yeah, just to think logically about it, putting yourself in somebody's shoes. And I think I'm just going to add this in for free. In today's age, and I mean it's by no means different to previous generations, but particularly now with everything that we have access to and everything that we are seeing of the world and media's penchant, here's a nice word for you, tendency to always show the doom and gloom and the terrible aspects of life, which there definitely are, we become a bit desensitized, and we seem to have forgotten how to empathize with people. And if we could do that, I think it would definitely make a big difference, and it would definitely create some pause before sending that reply or sending that hasty text message or putting that thing up on your status, etc. And I'm not going to say too much more about it, but I'm sure you all know what I mean. Okay, number 6. Critically discuss how the form and imagery of this poem is an effective connection to its theme. So, number 1, you have to know what the theme is. Number 2, you need to know the structure, because form and structure are the same thing. And thirdly, what is this imagery? And then when you put those 3 together, that's when you get your answer. So the theme is about a person undergoing trials and hardships, or somebody living in a loveless marriage. Okay, remember, theme is not story. It's something that you can take away from what you've seen or read or heard. Okay, the form is a very regular rhythm. Okay, I've included the rhyme scheme there at the bottom. A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, E, F, F. If you say to me, ma'am, that kind of sounds like somebody marching or calling out commands, that's the point, because that's what Uncle did. Okay, so the theme is somebody who is bound, has no control over their lives, and that is reflected in the structure. Okay, that very regular rhythm. All right, and then you've got the tigers, and they just do their own thing. They are not bound by that structure. So something that she made that is inanimate has more what we call agency than her as a living woman. Okay, agency is the ability to think for oneself, make one's own decisions, and feel free and safe enough to actually work out those decisions. That is what we call agency. All right, so there are the questions. If you've got any other questions about the poem, please feel free to add it in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and then I can do a few more, and we'll gradually add on the other poems as the year continues. Thank you.